so I hope I forgot nobody. Now I would like to pass the word to Jan, that because he is as representative of the University of Economics of Krakow, the lead partner of our project, and he will say a few words. So Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Claudia. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to be in Vienna, at least virtually, not in person, but hopefully soon it might change for better. Yes, I represent Krakow University of Economics, and in this project we are representatives of academia, so I mostly focus on social entrepreneurship and migrants from a research perspective. And we are very excited to have this project, which Taskforcome project aims to assist immigrant integration, and the role of social enterprises in this regard is crucial, as we want to help migrants to develop either social enterprises or entrepreneurial activities in 5 countries. So Poland, Croatia, Austria, Germany, and Italy. So I'm really happy to be here and to listen to not only Austrian experience when it comes to social entrepreneurship, but also of other partners and guests. I also look forward to hear about the experiences of other Interact projects which are represented here. Thank you.
Yeah, and Claudia, it's your turn to make the little interview with Regina Rizzi. You are muted. Claudia, you are muted.
So it's easy if you can't read my lips. Yes, the next, we will start with a short interview, because we are very happy that we can today present a survey done about Austrian social enterprises, and it's not published already, so we really have to say a big thank you that we are allowed to present the facts and features. But before we present the results of the study, we would like to make a short interview, and I think Ursula, will you ask the questions, yes or no?
You can, Claudia.
Okay, because Mrs. Rizzi Pavek, why did you do this study? So what are why did the ministry decide to make this study?
So first, let me also say hello, everybody. Thank you for being able to say a few words to you. Our motives for doing the study. The Ministry for Digital and Economic Affairs considers social entrepreneurship as a very important topic, and a topic that is certainly growing in importance, especially nowadays. As you are all aware of, our modern societies are facing increasing challenges from diverse areas, ranging from education, equality, climate, migration, to mobility, health, the aging of societies, working conditions, you name it, you have it. It's a very broad range. And at the same time, governments find it increasingly difficult to cope with all those challenges. Therefore, there is a growing need for those issues to be addressed on another level. And yeah, that's where social entrepreneurship steps in. So in Austria, as I think in many other countries, we have witnessed during the last couple of years that there's really a growing number of dedicated, often young entrepreneurs who do not simply strive for the biggest profit within the shortest amount of time, but who do have a new, a more holistic approach to the economy and to society as a whole. And they do want to make a difference. And even more in times of Corona and in the years to come, where the focus on rebuilding the economy and so on, and finding new workings for our societies will be. So the focus will be here on changes, on major changes on all levels. And there, we believe, and we already see that those entrepreneurs, they can show us new ways to tackle the crisis, and they can help to spread new forms of innovations, those new forms that we really need.
Do you have a vision concerning Austria, especially now?
A vision, well, a vision maybe that is maybe too far-fetched, yeah, but I mean the ultimate goal for me, I would say it is for social innovation and soft innovation to be one day on an equal footing with mainstream technological innovation, yeah, and then also having social businesses also on an equal footing with standard startups, yeah. So seeing them as another really big player, yeah, and that's why we thought that we have to take a step into the right direction, and we commissioned this study that is going to be presented today by Constanze Stockhammer, because we thought it absolutely necessary to shed some light on the Austrian social entrepreneurship landscape. We wanted to know, yeah, the numerical significance, but also their economic and social contribution of those social businesses and their main focal points, yeah, the issues they're dealing with, yeah, where are their strong areas, where are their weaknesses. Yeah, so we think that this study was important to us in order to have solid foundations, build a common ground on which now we can look into the options for possible measures that can be built upon in order to strengthen social businesses in Austria further.
Okay, thank you. And I think now we go from the vision to a picture. Ursula?
Yeah, we prepared a mood board. And the question is, please pick a picture which represents social entrepreneurship in your country. And whoever wants to make a statement, please raise your hand, show me in the reaction or the blue hand or in the chat. So the question is, pick one picture of these pictures and ask yourself which picture represents social entrepreneurship in your country according to your feelings. Constanze, I think you wanted? No? Marin, please.
Okay, hello everyone from Croatia. I'm from NGO etc., partner of Taskforcome project. Nice to meet you all, and lovely to have this conference because our NGO is like not team leader but a regional leader in trying to incorporate social entrepreneurship in the Dalmatia region. So yeah, we are very much new in this concept. Whole concept is pretty much still new in Croatia, although we have strategy and legal frames, but we'll cover that. The first picture that runs into my mind is this one that is picking up some kind of fruit. I'm not sure, is this apples, pomegranates, or something like that. So one, let's say, issue that we still have here in Croatia, when you say social entrepreneurship, the word social, we translate it to društveno, which is the similar, but when the people hear social, it's all connected to socialism, Yugoslavia, and first reaction, oh, we don't want that. After explaining that it's another part of the social, like helping local areas and people, then it's okay. And the first steps they made, little NGOs and what you call family household farms or stuff like that, that are actually doing social entrepreneurship even without realizing they are doing that. So this picture of homegrown things that they are distributed to the local markets and local people wide, and then reinvest in that local production is the first thing that comes to my mind. To be honest, this one with the lighting looks scary, and it also reminds me of social entrepreneurship and the legal frames that we have here. Okay, that's a short point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian. Thank you for your statement. Yes, who wants to make another statement? Please, Regina Rizzi, thank you.
Well, for me, it would be the birds. Yeah. First of all, they are a crowd. Yeah. they are far more than you would obviously think. Yeah. And secondly, of course, they're taking off in my view. Yeah. So, and that's definitely what social businesses are doing. Yeah. They're getting more and more and taking off. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Jan wants to make a statement, please. Yeah.
In my opinion, the bridge is a very good symbol of social entrepreneurship, especially in Poland, but I think in other countries as well, because social entrepreneurs actually bridge some vulnerable individuals or persons who are needing support with the rest of the society. So they provide a bridge through which these groups can actually communicate and help each other.
Thank you for your statement, Jan. Juliane, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm Juliane from Germany, from Platform. And I would also go for the bridge, as Jan said, but I would add another reason. Here in Germany is always a lot about building bridges between the different players in the social entrepreneurial field. Like we have different ministries on federal and state level. We have we have politics, we have economy, we have technological social innovations, but also more societal social innovations. So I think there's a lot of bridges need to be built to make this social entrepreneurial ecosystem work. So I think this is a nice picture in addition to what Jan said. Only thing I am missing a bit are the actual people who are always very active in this field.
Thanks a lot for your point, Juliane. Thanks. Romy.
So, hi everybody, I'm Romy. I'm from Co-working Salzburg, and for me, it's the blizzard, because as far as I experienced in the last 10 years since I'm doing Co-working Salzburg, I met a lot of social startups and people with social impact ideas, and they are like blizzard because they have so much energy, but it's still very hard to catch the energy and to bring it into the real impact and to make a business out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Romy, for your statements. Anybody else wants to make a statement? Please wave, just wave in your cameras if you don't find a blue hand. Yes, Constanze, please.
So, thanks. So for me, it's similar like for Marin. It's the picture with the apples, although I was indecisive whether it would be more the apples or the birds, because this is also very appealing picture, as Regina said. Yeah, but for me, it's the apples because there are lots of ripe fruits and a lot of potential in Austria and all over Europe regarding social entrepreneurs and their ideas, and they're simply waiting to be picked. But as you can see, this is long overdue because there are many, many apples, and I think it's really time to go and pick them.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think this picture was a wonderful transformation into our presentation of the survey. And Constanze, the microphone is yours.
Yeah, but I have to unmute the microphone first. Thanks. So thank you very much. And it's a great opportunity to present the findings of our survey in a pre-official version. So you're one of the first people who are shown the results of our survey, because it will be officially launched and brought to public, I think, in the next about 2 weeks by our Minister for Digitalization and Economic Affairs, Mrs. Stamböck. So you're getting very exclusive pre-information today. Yes, I will skip the first slide. So, as mentioned, the study was commissioned by the Ministry for Economic Affairs and Digitalization. And as Regina Rizzi already stated, the main objectives were to show the importance and the size of the Austrian social entrepreneurship landscape, because so far there have been no numbers and no facts and figures about social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship in Austria so far. Only some first estimations of their potential, but no real primary information. And the reason also to gain this inputs and this insights into social entrepreneurship were, of course, also to provide the base to bring some recommendations regarding how can social entrepreneurship in Austria be fostered and supported, first of all on a policy level, but also, of course, from other support organizations, intermediaries, and so on and so forth. So it was about creating better framework conditions for Austrian social entrepreneurs. But not only for Austrian social entrepreneurs, I think there are also some valuable insights and information that can be transferred also to other countries, because the difference is not so huge when you look across the borders. So to get all this information, we conducted an online survey among the Austrian social entrepreneurs, and many participated in this survey. But in the end, it were about 140 data sets that could be really used, so that were complete. And in addition, we had an expert survey where we talked to around 16 people from 14 different institutions in Austria that make make of the Austrian community for social entrepreneurs, to reflect on the results of the survey and to bring in their own thoughts and expertise about how to boost social entrepreneurship in Austria. So I will jump very briefly to the online survey, and I will only just quick go over the slides. So if you're interested to go into detail as regards the one or the other figure, please just raise your hand and interrupt me, and please do it acoustically, because I have only my slides in front of me and I don't see you, so you have to shout, or Ursula, please tell me if there are anything going on in the chat room. So we had a look, or we had a first estimation, how many social entrepreneurs or social enterprises are there in Austria. So we came across it will be around 2,240 social enterprises. Basis for this estimation were the results of our survey and a first potential estimation of the Vienna University of Economics and Business Administration. And as you can see, the largest part of regional distribution is, of course, to be found in Vienna as the largest urban area in Austria, and a really hotspot also for startups and everything going on. But we also have a huge part of, or huge amount of social entrepreneurs in Styria, which is due to the fact that they have a social business club. It's a similar supporting structure as SENA on the regional level for a lot of years. For many years, and you see this has an effect also on boosting social entrepreneurs. So you can say you need local support, you need regional support on site if you want to bring on social entrepreneurship, and this is seen if you look at Styria, but also to Vienna, because in Vienna we have great support structures already here for a couple of years, from the Impact Hub, which is today represented by Lena Gansterer, or from Ashoka as well, or Arbeit Plus, and a couple of other support structures. So having a look at the age of the Austrian social entrepreneurs, we have here the distribution of their founding years, and of course there is an accumulation of founding years that can be attributed to the near past, because of course the older ones may not have survived so long. So it's clear that the most funding years, or the most participants, came from around 2017. But very interesting is also the result that you had already some social entrepreneurs that can be dated back to 1976, so who are really old in terms of businesses, not in terms of persons, of course. Then I have some now. It works again. Legal forms, I think this is a very interesting figure. You'll see we have a large number of limited liability companies, of GmbH, as it is called in Germany and Austria, and you have also really huge proportion of associations, of Vereine, which make up almost a fourth of the social entrepreneurs, and a large proportion of small companies, sole proprietorships of one-person companies that also amount to 22%. And then you have some other legal forms which can be neglected so far. But we have also 1% of social entrepreneurs that are stock corporations, so Aktiengesellschaft. So you see, social entrepreneurs can become really big as well. When we have a look at sales and employment effects, you have a distribution of the sales here, the annual sales, and we compared it also to the Austrian startup scene, and it's rather familiar. Sorry, I have to drink something, otherwise I will keep horsing. So it's familiar to the startup scene, and as you can see, there are significant sales as well. Also, of course, smaller sales, which can be attributed to younger companies. And an average of 12 or around 13 persons is employed by social entrepreneurs. which is an employment effect that lies over that of classic startups. But on the other hand, a large amount of these employees, large percentage, more than a half are part-time employees. We also had a look at the sectors Austrian social entrepreneurs operate in. So we took as reference and to make it transferable to other studies, we took as reference the NACE codes, as you may have already seen. And so the categories are sometimes not very self-explaining, but it's the NACE codes basically. And the most prominent sector, the most often chosen sector was information and communication. So we have an indication that social business have a large amount of digitalization in their business models and their offer. And then other business and service activities were also often stated. So it's business service activities, basically. So you can see the social entrepreneurs are also very active in the service sector. So their production is not so much an issue. They're more, service and people oriented. And then you have to note that the respondents of the survey could make multiple choices. So this also explains this large proportion of services and information and communication technologies, because this was chosen by many social entrepreneurs in combination then with more content related fields like social services or education or arts and entertainment and so on and so forth. And we even have social business in the mining field, which is very interesting to me. I can't imagine what they're doing, but I'm sure they are doing something important. Internationalization or the markets that are addressed, of course, they are very, national oriented. So they're most of them address Austria as primary market, and then as the second market it's the European Union, also European countries outside the European Union, but there are also social businesses in more far markets, like acting in more far markets like Africa or North America or Asia. And we also compared it to the startup scene, and apart from North America, the results are very similar. And social entrepreneurs are more active in so-called developing countries, as it is their nature, than classic startups. Having a deeper look at the financing structure or the sources of financing that the social entrepreneurs used across different phases of their businesses, we found out that, not surprisingly, at the first hand, they are very dependent on their own money. So they, in particular, when they're in the pre-establishment phase, so when it comes to starting the business, to the first developing the first ideas and preparing the business foundation, the dependence on own money, of course, decreases over the life cycle of their businesses, but it makes out a huge amount of financing, which can also be attributed to the fact that they find it rather difficult to refer to other sources of financing, since a social business, classic lenders and investors are sometimes not so eager to give money to them, because they do not really understand the business model behind the whole thing. And as in Austria, they are also drawing to a large extent on public funding. So we have in Austria, we are in the favorable position to have a very well-established public funding structure for startups and companies and innovation activities. And to, as you can see, to some extent, social businesses also succeed to get their part of this public funding. So even if it's not easy, because they're often excluded from different funding programs. And in addition, this item, public funding, also includes public contracting, for example, in the field of labor market or education. So when they really get money for their activities for the state as well. So it's not only funding in the classical sense. Yes, bank loans can be taken if the company is already well established or more established and has is in the position to prove the feasibility of its business model, of its first prototypes. Then banks step in, but there is potential to increase this activity. Also, when it comes to money from foundations, where Austria is not very well set up compared, for example, to Germany. And also impact investment and crowdfunding are fields that can be improved. So there is room for improvement here. Because it's very important to bring social entrepreneurs into the position not to be so dependent or not to have to draw so much on their own money, which of course is also very dangerous, as we have seen now in the Corona crisis, because most founders were due to Corona really brought in very precarious conditions. Moreover, we had a look at more content-related information of our social businesses. First of all, we asked them, so they had to estimate it themselves, how much they think their business model or their offer how innovative their offer or their business model is on a scale between 0 and 100%. And we also asked the extent of digitalization of their business offer or their business model, also on a scale between 0 and 100%. And as you can see, social entrepreneurs deem themselves, and I think this can be confirmed, as rather innovative, and also at least almost one half of them has a digitalized business model or a digitalized market offer. Moreover, we asked them whether they would comply to the criteria of a startup, because in Austria we have a huge Austrian startup monitor every year, and there are specific criteria that make up startups according to this report. And we asked the social entrepreneurs whether they would fulfill this criteria, and as you can see, more than 50% of the social entrepreneurs are also startups according to the criteria of the Austrian Startup Monitor, which is they are younger than 10 years, they are highly innovative, and they have large growth expectations when it comes to sales and employment. So I will just briefly jump over the founding teams. So the founding teams of social businesses comprise on average 2.6 people, and founders are around 40 years old. So they are not so young as frequently deemed, at least in Austria, where everybody thought this would be rather young people. So they are also not old, but it's on average 40 years. And which is very, very nice and very, to highlight, very important to highlight, is that almost half of the founders are female, compared, I think, to 18% when you look at the figures of the Austrian Startup Monitor. So almost 50% are female, and they are very high educated, the founders. So most of them, almost 70%, have a college, so Fachhochschule, or a university degree. So, but it's social business we are talking about. So what also interests are the social impacts, the social effects. What are the target groups the social businesses address? So also here, multiple choice was possible. The most stated category were entrepreneurs, so other entrepreneurs, which may be attributed to the fact that many social businesses have as their goal also to bring some mind changes and some rethinking of classical ways of doing business, so that other companies become more SDG oriented when they do their business, include more, for example, people with disabilities, or people with other who are socially disadvantaged, such as poor people or migrants and so on and so forth, or turn economy to become more ecological. And so one target group of the impact activities is to change the mindset of other entrepreneurs. Then on the second range, it's or second rank, it's also then to support a couple of social groups, such as young people, children, women, and socially disadvantaged, also other communities. So as you can see, this is also attributed to the fact that they could choose several categories. So one target group is to help, for example, people with disabilities. And to do so, on the second level, they have also to change the mind of other entrepreneurs. As for example, one social business is MyAbility in Austria, and they have a business-to-business service where they work with other companies, helping them to include people with disabilities in a way that both sides can profit, for example. Fields of activity, so not branch, not sector, but really the activity of the impact model, not of the business model. Many social businesses are in the field of education, then many have environmental issues on their agenda. Inclusion, diversity, health, social services, and labor market integration, but also circular economy are very important areas to impact. And so this is the overview in this respect. And of course, the goals, the social goals, social objectives. There we have taken very of course, the Sustainable Development Goals as reference. And as you can see, the most frequent chosen SDG is sustainable economic growth and decent work. So it refers to fair working conditions and fair ways of doing business and changing economy in this respect. This also matches well with the target group of other entrepreneurs we had before. And also big issues, reducing inequality, education, and sustainable consumption and production, healthy lives for all. So these are the most frequent frequent SDGs, targeted by the Austrian social entrepreneurs. And since we wanted to provide a basis for recommended measures to improve the Austrian ecosystem and the framework conditions for the social entrepreneurs, we also took a deeper look into the actual status and into the satisfaction of the social entrepreneurs with the current framework conditions. And we asked them about their satisfaction with a couple of items. And as you can see, or maybe I have to explain it a little bit, this is a Likert scale which ranges from 1 to 6, and the lowest level, so 1 refers to very unsatisfied, so 2 is unsatisfied, and 3 is somewhat unsatisfied. So 1, 2, 3 are the range or the shades of unsatisfaction, and 4, 5, 6 are the shades of satisfaction, you can say. So the satisfaction increases by number, and the unsatisfaction decreases by number. And as you can see, most items are in the range of unsatisfaction. So what is most unsatisfying for the Austrian social entrepreneurs is the social entrepreneurship policy, which may be also attributed to the fact that so far, till the commissioning of the study, there has been not a real social entrepreneurship policy in Austria. Then Austrian social entrepreneurs are also very unsatisfied about the impact investment landscape, which is really not very mature in Austria. The situation of receiving money from foundations, and of course, but this is a thing that also refers to all startups and companies in Austria. They're rather unsatisfied about the high level of bureaucracy and the administrative processes, which are deemed as very exhaustive and time consuming. And the legal framework is also an issue, since it's very difficult for social entrepreneurs to find themselves adequate legal structures that also provide the visibility they need. And here we come also to the next item, which is visibility of social entrepreneurship and public funding, public acceptance. Here they are still somewhat unsatisfied, so it's not that bad as the other things, you can say. And as we have seen before, of course, when we had a look at the funding sources financing sources, we saw that public funding is not so much a problem as other sources of money. Related to the satisfaction with the framework conditions, we also asked the respondents about the major challenges they face when doing social business in Austria. And as you can see, financing is the biggest challenge. So to get money is really the most difficult thing for the social entrepreneurs. This also conforms to the figure about the financing resources, where you could see that the social entrepreneurs are very dependent on their own money. So because it's difficult to get financing from other sources, from external sources, another big challenge is also the profitability. So the profitability of their business models. Then acquisition of customers, and in general, this also refers to profitability, the increase of sales, cash flow and liquidity, which also attributes to the fact of the financing problems. Yes, then you have sales growth and of course impact measurement, which are also some challenges. But as you summing up, the most important challenge is in fact money when it comes to getting money from other people, so financing, and money when it comes to receiving money from market activities, so profitability and sales. And last, we asked the social entrepreneurs, what do you expect from policy, from decision makers to do? What do you want them to change or to do for you? And the most often stated expectation or want or need was the reduction of non-wage labor costs, which are rather high in Austria. And if you're in a business like it is for social enterprises, where you have, as we have seen, a high amount of employment, and if you're in the field of services and have many employees, of course, labor costs are a real burden. It's a burden for every company, of course, but in particular in the field of services with a high level of employment, of course. But on the second rank, also already a want for better understanding of the policymakers, of the decision makers for the needs of social entrepreneurs, then fewer regulatory and bureaucratic hurdles, of course, tax reductions, but this is also a thing that is important for every company, of course. Then again, something more social entrepreneurship related, namely improving the position of social entrepreneurship in society. So this is something social entrepreneurs also expect policymakers to do, to bring more visibility and awareness of social entrepreneurship to general public, also by their own activities. So if policymakers have a role model effect in this respect. Yeah, and also what many of them would favor was an improved exchange between the policy or the politicians and social startups. Since legal issues were also stated as one of the problems, we also asked, and since it is discussion that is going on already for a couple of years in Austria, but as far as I know, all over Europe, do social businesses need a distinct legal form or no? How should this legal solution should look like? We also asked our respondents if they want a legal form for social entrepreneurs. And most of them said yes, but we had also a comment sector, and there it stated that they would prefer not a legal form, but more of a legal status, so that they could choose the company or society form they want. So they could choose if they want to be an association or a limited company. Because due to the very high level of heterogeneity in the social business sector, it's really important that they have the possibility to choose the underlying legal form, because for many of them it's important to be able to be an association, because otherwise they won't be able to, for example, in Austria, be contracted to the education system. And for other companies, it's important to have limited liability status to their market activities. And since social entrepreneurs have very different stakeholders and business models and impact models, so it's difficult to press them into one single legal form. This was the outcome of this commentaries, and therefore we opt now more for a legal status, which is the case in several other countries. Yes, I already talked about our expert survey, so I would just briefly, we have a short picture of how many institutions and people we consulted. Some of them are here today, but that's it for the first part of my presentations, and we will come then in the second part after the other program points to the recommended measures. Thanks. And of course, if you have questions, I hope this is okay for you, Ursula. I'm not changing too much of the agenda. You can post them now if something is not clear or something has to be commented.
Thank you, Constanze, for the presentation of your first part, dates and figures of your survey. I saw that the head of startup services of the Austrian Chamber of Economy has arrived just now, and we wanted to make an interview. Hello. Thanks that you have time for us, and we will make the discussion of the dates and figures maybe later after the interview, so that can go to the next meeting he has afterwards.
Perfect.
Hello everyone, Cam is my name. Glad to be here. Glad to discuss about the topic because it's so important, also personally for me. Yeah, I'm ready to start the interview and looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. You have once been a startup, you started your own business. Were there anything you wished you would have?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, to be honest, because you always wish more, usually. So when I remember back with my first startup, which was What You Do, which actually originated from the social entrepreneurship track, let's say this, we'll put it in this way. The thing was what would have helped me at this point of time would be like a single point of contact for all the information I needed, because it was my first company. And I was not worried about legal stuff, about tax issues, about how to do fundraising, how to join the right networks and so on. So single point of contact that really went through all the different steps with me would have helped me a lot. And the thing is, I mean, there are some, let's say some institutions and some places where it goes into this direction, but no real single point of contact because it's more fragmented. Okay, that was my impression at this point of time, and that's what I want to change now, which is like one of the goals I have. But this would have helped me. And the other thing is, because I remember it was my first company, and I was insecure, to be honest, because you had like your friends, your families who were doubting you because why do you do this? Because you don't earn any kind of money and so on. So the thing is, what would have helped me if when I started like talking with all the public services available in Austria, if they were much more motivating, you know, so people working with me, supporting me, who's motivate me in what I'm doing. And this is some kind of impression I have. That's not always the case, and that's what I also get from like startups in the ecosystem, that when they start like talking with like public services institutions and so on, it's not always this way that they motivate you a lot. I think this would have helped me as well, and this is something I would have wished like back at this time. And apart from that, and this again matches like my first point, this kind of single point of contact. So someone who enables me throughout all the different steps. So from early stage until like scaling up. So someone where I can work with, even on the public side, who helps me when I want to found a company with all the legal issues I have, with all the tax issues I have. But when I want to expand and go internationally and scale up, also if there is also some kind of enabler who like supports me in this process, this would have helped me a lot. So just to sum it up, like these 3 main points. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And now you are in a position as head of startup services in the Chamber of Economy in Austria to change something. What is your vision? Where do you want to be in helping social entrepreneurs in 2020 or something like that? 2021, 2022.
So I will start with the last point I mentioned. So a central single point of contact, some kind of enabler who supports me in all the different steps. And the thing is, with social entrepreneurs, my experience is that it's in the last years it has been even more like difficult to set up your business in this field. Because why? Because people will start like doubting you. Is this profitable? Okay, and how do you create impact and so on? So it hasn't always been so easy. And I remember it because I started like several businesses who were in this field. So that's what I'm working on right now. So create like an environment within the Austrian chambers, economic chambers here, that the social entrepreneurs and also like all the startups have the feeling, okay, when I join like or go to let's say the head of startup services or like to the we just come out per se, this is someone who enables me through all the differences, through all the different questions I have. I think this is very important, and this is like really servicing like the target group, which is not easy, which requires also internal change, but also like a lot of, let's say, human resources, people like involving themselves. But this is something I'm working on. And because I'm in constant exchange with, let's say, social entrepreneurs, startups, and so on, we've like started to create like our first, let's say, initiatives here at the Wirtschaftskammer, which is Kammer is the German name for economic chambers, just for those who don't understand, where we can support them like in growing the business. For instance, what we're going to do is like have this constant, we call it Restart Workshop Pitching Days, where we connect startups in a specific vertical. For instance, let's say food sustainability. I mentioned this because we will have this kind of online event soon, where we connect them with like international ecosystems, international investors, international potential corporate clients, for instance. And we will have our next virtual pitching day with Munich, the Austrian Wirtschaft Center, let's say in Munich, and the ecosystem there with the EIT program from the UN, where startups in food sustainability here in Austria can pitch in front of them. But the main goal is like to connect them much more easier with like international ecosystem. So this is one thing. Then also what I'm working on is like this kind of constant connection, building up the network. So a lot of startups, entrepreneurs come to me and they ask for, okay, I need people who can support me in fundraising. I need people who can connect me with product prototyping. I need people who somehow build a bridge to, let's say, a potential corporate partner in Sweden. Okay, so this is something I want to create, this ongoing like connections. Until now, or at the moment, I'm doing it more manually. So because I just connect them, but I want to like automate this process much more. So this is something I'm working on. And apart from that, also like this ongoing skill building, because particularly young founders who are inexperienced, they lack certain competences which are very important for raising up your business. No? And this is something, because of my experience, I can support them with. Okay, what do you look at when you start like with a team or with your product or a business model? And this is also something which is ongoing. So these are the initiatives we've started, where we like work with a lot of startups also in the fields of social entrepreneurship, and it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work. And apart from this, like internal services we provide, we have all this political work. For instance, when you talk with a lot of social entrepreneurs, that's my impression, they ask for some kind of like legal form with their entity, which really suits their, let's say, business, their social environment, the social like setup. So this is something which I'm working on. Okay, how can we create like a legal form, an entity for these social entrepreneurs that really matches their like interest. But apart from that, like all the typical topics, which you know from the startup ecosystem. So how can we raise more investment locally, but also more internationally? So how can we get people in Austria, but also like international investors to join Austrian startups, social entrepreneurs, and invest in their businesses. How can we create this? What kind of incentives do we need? So this is all the political groundwork we're doing right now. Also, something that is very important is like access to talent. And access to talent, how can you get it? Either you have the right entrepreneurship education initiatives here in Austria, where you like do a lot of skill building very early on. Let's say kindergarten even, if you want to start very early, where we then, let's say, future social entrepreneurs and yeah, will benefit a lot. Or how can we access international talent through much easier, let's say, and faster processes? Think about the Rot-Weiß-Rot card, the card which enables like people from third countries to like come to Austria. How much time does it take now to do this? Too much, to be honest. So how can we like shorten this time and access this international talent in a much faster time frame? And apart, and that's my last point on the political side, because, you know, I'm talking about Austria, okay, in particular. Austria is a very small market in terms of like numbers. That's it. Okay, we don't have such a huge population, such a huge number of institutions and companies and so on. So we can compete with like bigger countries like Germany. So when we say, okay, we want to get much more people here in Austria to build their like social business or social, not social business, but like their social enterprise, social, yeah, because there's a difference between social business and social entrepreneurship. That's why I don't want to confuse it. But let's say in this field, okay? And we want also to attract people from outside to come join us. Then we need a setup which is much more innovation driven, that like incentivize people to come join us, no? That's how you're going to do this, because you can't compete like with the bigger markets. So that's why we need smart regulation here in Austria. That means like making the process of founding a company much easier. The access to talent, to access to investment, much more easier. So whatever we do here, it needs to be faster and easier than the bigger markets, because that's the only way to attract people to build their business here. That's what I believe in. And this is like just a short summary of like what I'm right now doing at the moment and working on.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Candice. Constanze has shown a lot of dates and facts in her presentation. So I ask all the people from Poland, Germany, Italy, and Croatia, are there any questions they have according to the facts and figures Constanze presented?
And also from Austria, questions.
And also from Austria. Thanks a lot, Constanze. Maybe I ask Constanze, so were there any surprises in the survey?
Yes. As mentioned, some things were just confirmations of, things we were thinking that were taking place, and now we had the confirmation from real data. The surprise is, I think, I have to briefly recapture my yes, first of all, I think it was really surprising, but it was rather surprising that the age of the social entrepreneurs was so medium, so around 40 years. It was also a surprise that they had such an access to public funding. So, but of course we have to take the limitation that it also included public contracts. So the social entrepreneurs didn't really distinguish between funding programs in the narrower sense and contracts coming from the public side. but so there weren't so many real surprises if I go across all the results. No, not so, no many actually.
Okay. Thank you, Constanze. Does anybody? Yes, Romy, please.
Hi, Constanze. Thank you for showing me this study and us. It's really interesting. I wonder about my region. So I'm working hard to get Salzburg on somehow visible on this topic on startups and social entrepreneurship. And I could not find it in the pie chart. So I wonder it's just not represented in the cases that you were asking, or is it not there on the landscape at all?
Yes, that's a good point. Normally, I refer to the fact that Salzburg is missing, but in this international context, I was just skipping over it. Sorry. Actually, there are some social enterprises in Salzburg, but not very many of them. We simply didn't get any responses from them. So I even personally contacted 3 of them and said, please fill in, but maybe they hadn't the time, or Tina from Kamalaya said, yes, I will do so. And then I think she forgot. But there are really only only a few social entrepreneurs in Salzburg compared to other Bundesländer, unfortunately. And we are directly addressing this issue by I had talks to Natascha Deutinger from the startup point FDH, of the FH, and I was talking to Josine Bakis, who is for the global change makers in Salzburg, representative of the global change makers there. And we wanted to activate the community in Salzburg, because I think there is a large potential, in particular in the field of socially responsible tourism and other fields, culture. But we had also some events planned, but then the Corona crisis crashed all of these activities.
I understand. Now it's even better that we speak now, that we know each other, so you can reach out to me and I can help you for finding social startups. Thank you.
Thank you. Has anybody a question to Cambis? Thank you, Romy, for asking Constanze. Has anybody a question to Cambis?
Might I add something?
Oh, yeah, Barbara has a question. We make this question, then Cambis.
I was actually wondering whether, as I understood it, you are the head of startup services for all startups. And I was wondering if you also get social startups who come to your consultations or who use your offers, and where you see the difference in their needs compared to other forms of startups.
Yep. A very important question. So yeah, I get a lot of inquiries, or a lot. Let's say also I get inquiries from social entrepreneurs in various fields. I'm also have a very strong connection, for instance, to the Impact Hub Vienna, which includes a lot of all these social entrepreneurs. And the thing is, what I see in the last 5 to 10 years, there has been some kind of a change in professionality of all these social entrepreneurs. So the profile of these people is changing because, or it's changing and developing. Why? Because now the focus on having social impact, but also making money out of it and combine both of these factors is much more institutionalized within when they start setting up the business. So this is something I've seen, and they always start thinking already, okay, what are potential revenue streams? How can we do this? Because the more money we get, the more impact we can theoretically at least create. Okay, and the thing is, when it comes particularly in the form of the legal entity, okay, how or what kind of legal entity do you use in the beginning? Okay, is it a GmbH, okay, which is the typical Austrian legal entity, or let's say, is it a Verein, okay, or is it both? So combine both together. So this is something I've seen where you have some kind of combination, because you do, okay, the donors go to the fine and some fundings go to the fine, but then you have the GmbH, which is like trying to get profitable and so on. There are like very also use cases in also like Helios and so on, or for instance, SENA is one of the enterprises I'm now working with. And because they are never sure, okay, which way to go. This is something I think this is we have to work on. That's why I mentioned this kind of, okay, what about like a legal form that really suits like social entrepreneurs? But does it have to be a combination of like a fine or a GmbH? Why not create like a legal entity that matches their interests? And in matching, I mean, for instance, okay, I can get like donations, I can like have some kind of tax sanction for specific matters and so on. So this is something I think which is like would be important for them to do. But apart from that, I don't have the feeling that they're so different anymore when it comes to doing business. But sure, if they want to create the impact, they will have to put it down into numbers. How are they going to create this impact? What about the numbers? What kind of model do they use where they can show this kind of impact? What I also see is like in terms of the funding side, not the public side, more like the private side, there's a rising number of impact investors, if you want to call it like this, okay? But still, it's not so that a lot of like investors are saying, okay, only impact investments, only startups in the social field and so on. So I think this is something which is now developing and has started like the last 5 years ago. It's more like dominant in the US, for instance, but also here, how can we create incentives so that investors start like focusing much more, okay, what kind of social impact does this startup or this company has? So I think this is something we have to work on. First of all, in terms of communicating it, so raising awareness, and second, really hard like incentives in terms of like taxes or financial incentives and so on that will like push this kind of investment.
Thank you for your question, Barbara. Thank you for your answer, Cambis. Are there any questions for Cambis from someone else? Okay. If this
Can I
is
add just something I want to add? Because
yes, of course, Cambis. Yes.
What Romy said, the thing is, or because we were talking about like the ecosystem in Salzburg. So just if we take the number of startups into consideration, there are not so many startups in Austria, to be honest, and not so many startup foundations. Sure, not every social entrepreneur is a startup, okay? But the numbers in Salzburg are not that high in terms of like how many new startups like built each year. They're pretty low, to be honest. So it's sure that you don't find so many social entrepreneurs right now. But the thing is, how can we like raise this number of like people being or becoming social entrepreneurs? And I think the most important factor, or one of the most important factors, is like how easy is it to found your company? Okay, just to think about the process of like founding your GmbH. Okay. It is not that easy, even if people believe it's so easy. If you compare it to like other regions or countries, the time, you require much more time. So the easier the foundation process is, the higher the number of like founders you will have, also in the fields of social entrepreneurs. That's something I just wanted to add.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. According to our plan, we have a break for about 10 minutes. So if there are last chance for any question, I don't see a hand anywhere. Okay, so let's have a break. It's 10:23. We meet again at 10. Yeah, let's say 35 minutes past 10. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming, Cambis. Good luck to you. And
thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Okay, it was good to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. We see each other 35 minutes past 10.
of the social entrepreneurship community, we could identify 3 main areas where potential measures could take effect, or to which or areas that should be addressed. First of all, and not surprisingly, it's the financing situation, because this was really a big issue and a big challenge brought by the respondents of the online survey, and also confirmed by the experts interviewed. The second area, also as already highlighted by Camis, referred to the visibility and awareness for social entrepreneurship, to the understanding of the concept. And last not least, one area is social entrepreneurship policy, which was also, when we think back to the satisfaction items, one thing where social entrepreneurs weren't really satisfied. Yes, coming to the first pillar of recommendations, the financing area. We distinguished between private money and public money. And the recommendations for the private financing offer that came from our experts and from international experience, where it needs tax incentives to improve the attractiveness of investments in social enterprises by private investors. Next, it needs a social impact fund. So in Austria, that has to be set up based on the matching funds principle. So that means that private money is leveraged with public money. And the third point was it needs adjustments to the Public Benefit Act and to the to the laws and legal structures regarding foundations. In Austria, it would be preferable to take here Germany as role model. And fourth, when it comes to oh, sorry, this is my cat. It's the home office. Okay, he also wanted to say something, I guess. So liability and guarantees, yeah, for loans and credits to improve or increase the readiness of banks and credit institutions to support social entrepreneurs. So these were 4 recommendations that were brought by the experts. And I will now jump to the international comparison. So we had, and thank you very much to all of you for completing these tables. We asked our project partners in the 4 other regions, in the 4 other countries, how is the situation there, and are things implemented as recommended for Austria? So this would be, you know, so I don't know the English word for Haken, check, and or are these things in plan or scheduled? Then you have this notebook with the pen, or are there some considerations regarding to put such a measure into effect? Then it's the bulb, or it doesn't exist at all, and there aren't any necessities or thinking of doing this. So this is the starting point for our discussion regarding the private financing part.
Thank you, Constanze. And this sketch showed we will have good luck that all of these recommendations will come true.
Oh, sorry.
So, yeah, I want to ask anybody of, yeah, in Germany, in Croatia, in Italy, in Poland, are there any questions? Are there any answers you want to share with us? Maybe I have a question. Was it difficult for you to do this questionnaire?
No, no. First of all, the social entrepreneurs were very ready to complete it because they were happy that somebody started listening to them. And the talks to the experts, that they weren't based on the questionnaire, they were in-depth qualitative interviews. So they took usually they took more than one hour, where we talked about the different areas where problems were identified, and asked them how would they address these challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Juliane, thanks Constanze for your answer, and Juliane wanted to ask something or to say something.
Yes, I liked the idea or this recommendation of this matching fund. To be honest, when I read only the word group, I didn't understand the concept behind it, but now it's clear, and I don't really know if there's something like that in Germany. Maybe you know, but since I think other countries put a check there, I would like to find out. No, I think it was the slide before.
Yeah, the slide before. The first slide.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
And the next one.
And I think other countries, oh no, it's like planned.
Private financing. Mm-hmm.
So the social impact fund, how do those plans or thoughts look like? Are there already any experiences? Because I think that sounds like an attractive concept to raise some private money for the social enterprises.
Could someone answer the question of Juliane? Yes. Marine, please.
Okay, again. So, quick overview of this idea about social impact fund. There are some what you call private firms that are trying to improve their local businesses, and they have like a call that's called "Start Something Yourself." I'm not sure how to translate it in English, but the idea is that you can start and get some funding for your idea and for your startup company, but it has to be implemented with the social ideas and social enterprises. So it's not like a big funding. They're offering more like help with the startup, providing your ideas and going on, and a small amount on the money because like, okay, you don't have anything, but we'll try to help you with this stuff. So they're not like big funds. They're more like helping you through the process. And if you get, I don't know, last 5 of them, they choose that your startups are the best idea. They then put money inside your idea. That's like a short overview. Thank you.
Thank you, Marine. Did this answer your question, Juliane?
Sorry, just need to find the button. Yes, thanks. I mean, if representatives from the other countries want to say something as well, I would be also interested, but yes, thanks, Marine.
Is there something, you know each other, Juliane, do you want to address your question to a certain person?
To be honest, no, I think because I don't exactly know who prepared it.
Maybe I can add something, because Juliane, you said if there are international examples for this, it's not really an impact fund, but it's also a measure that goes in this direction. That's the French Fonds Commun de Placement d'Entreprises Solitaires, which is also a fund, yeah, which requires that people, members of this fund place 10% of their wealth into it, and the rest addresses different investment strategies. Maybe you can Google it for further details. It's a very complex issue. But as far as I know, there is, at least we couldn't find it when we were looking for it. There is no such an impact fund in Europe. I think there is one in continental Europe. Sorry, I think there is one in the UK.
Okay, thank you.
Marine just gave us a link for Croatia, mostly in Croatian language he writes, but it's a link. Thank you, Marine.
May I add something? It's not really private financing. It's a mixture between private and public financing. But I think it's quite an interesting example from Austria as well. There is the FFG, which is the promotion of, actually, I don't know their English translation. Constanze sure knows it. It's the
Austrian Research Promotion Agency.
Austrian Research Promotion Agency, very, very well, thank you. And they have a funding scheme for projects that are geared towards solving societal or environmental solutions. And they now are experimenting with a program, a part of the program where they help some of their projects that they fund, because they only have 50% funding, to raise additional funds via crowdfunding, and they support their crowdfunding campaign with different services. And I think it's not really this social impact fund, but I think it's an interesting way of combining private and public finance, and also of using crowd capital in a way.
Thank you, Barbara. Annalisa, you want to talk?
Yeah, I would like to say something. Hello, I'm Annalisa from Università Politecnica delle Marche in Italy. And I found out yesterday that we have something similar from Cassa Depositi e Prestiti. I can share with you the link. So basically, it's a platform in which converge 100 million of euros, half of them from European Fund for the investments, and the other half from the fund itself. And basically, what it does is involve private capital in the social sector. They're looking for investors specialized in impact investment in order to finance pilot programs of social enterprises. And I think it's very interesting because also like this organization is very well established, is very well known in Italy. So I think it could also raise awareness, which is also one of the points suggested by the presentation for the Austrian environment. So I just wanted to share this platform. I will send the link. It's in Italian, but you can easily translate it, I think.
Thank you. That sounds very interesting, also for our study.
Thank you, Annalisa. Annalisa has shared her link in the chat. Are there any questions, recommendations according to private financing? If this is not the case, then I ask Constanze to go ahead.
Yes. The next stream referred to the public money, as already stated, and the recommendations brought forward here were that social entrepreneurship and in particular also the notion of social innovation should find more consideration in economic and innovation funding instruments. So if you have economic support, also now in the Corona crisis, it was a big issue here, at least in Austria, but I think everywhere else too. Also to provide for social entrepreneurs to be eligible to such funding programs, funding instruments, and to be able to participate on the same level like classic economic business participants. And also when it comes to innovation instruments or instruments supporting innovation activities, that not only technological innovation, as Regina Rizzi at the beginning already stated, should be supported, but also societal innovation or innovation that goes beyond technology issues. Then another recommendation was before we come to this most preferable solution to have social entrepreneurs on the same level, competing on the same eye level like every other economic player in the different funding structures. This will take time, of course, and before it becomes reality as a short-term measure, it was recommended to have specific programs for social businesses so that are only available to social entrepreneurs, social enterprises, also to increase their visibility and to be some kind of impulse to dynamicize this area. But generally, it would be more preferable on the long run to don't need such specific programs anymore, because social businesses can participate in all other support structures. Then another recommendation, which is, I think, particularly an Austrian issue, is that in Austria, the policy side does not make very much use of the possibilities that the ESF or the ERD or the future ESF Plus will offer to co-finance national programs. There would be many more possibilities to create national support programs for the sector and have it co-financed by EU money. This should be more actively pursued according to the experts. And another thing which refers more to the national level, we have a couple of public incubation programs for startups in Austria, and it would be very good if these incubation programs would be especially opened also towards social entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurship, to address, specifically address also social entrepreneurs, to bring forward the activities in the field, because it has proven that in particular social entrepreneurs need help and support when it comes to the business side of their activities. They're normally very good at pursuing their impact and their impact goals, but the market activities need to be supported and professionalized more. And since social entrepreneurship is something, and I think Barbara from Cerusi can confirm this is something which also takes place to a large amount in the rural areas. It would be also very good to have in Austria, like I think in many other European countries, particular rural or regional development programs and projects if these regional development programs would also particularly include and address social entrepreneurs, since they are very viable and valuable dynamizing factor in on the country, because normally they affect their impact on site, their affect their impact in the local community, they stay on the country, they create employment on the country, and so they are also a very important part to regional development as such. And another big issue, as I know, which is also a big issue in many other European countries and also on the European level as such, is public procurement as a very important client for social entrepreneurs. And here to include or to provide for more social public procurement, which is specifically based on social criteria when it comes to the selection of potential companies, company offers to public procurement activities. Then I will go to our international picture, to our Taskforcome overview of the activities in these fields. And as you can see, many things have been already implemented or are thought of, but yes, public procurement is a blind spot so far, I would say. Apart from Italy, where there are first considerations, maybe it would be interesting to hear more about what's going on in this field, but also on the other points.
Thank you, Constanze. And I'm asking now Croatian participants or Italian participants to tell us something of the framework in their countries and maybe give us good advices. Maureen, please.
Okay, so considering the public funding, the main funding considered is from European Social Fund. We have specific calls that are aiming at social enterprises. The biggest problem is we don't have a legal frame to define who is social enterprise and who is not. So at the moment, there was a year ago, open one big European Social Fund call. It's still being addressed, checking out and getting the things done to who will get the funds. Problem because of this non-existing legal frame is just a strategy. There are different types of organizations that are applying for this fund that, to be honest, have nothing to do with social enterprises. So the NGOs, the small business corporations, organizations that are actually doing something considered like this are in not beneficial position at the moment. So the first step that should be done is not having only a strategy in Croatia about social enterprises, but also to have at least some kind of legal frame that say, okay, you are social enterprise, this is your benefits, and at least you are the ones who have rights to apply for this ESF and get funded. So yeah, it's really good that we have some calls that are actually aiming at improving social enterprises, but the bad stuff is we don't have a way to say, okay, this is a social enterprise and this is not. So that's in short. So hoping in the future, because the idea is to have a registry of social enterprises in Croatia and have a new strategy or some kind of legal form. But I don't see that happen in a few years coming now. Okay, that's from Croatia.
Thanks, Maureen. Some statements from Italy?
Yes.
Mara.
Yeah, yes, Ursula. We have the same situation of Croatia. We have some specific call for proposal in the framework of European Regional Development Fund, a European Social Fund. they are specific call to improve, to start up social enterprises. And in our case, we have some national and regional register for social enterprises. So we don't have the problem that Marin explained about the legal form of social enterprises. They are very successful call for proposal, which can improve, which can strengthen our social enterprises. Thank you.
Thanks, Mara, for telling you about the Italian situation. Anybody else who wants to comment? This is not the case. Then we pass to the third part. Constanze, please.
Yes. So now we come to the second pillar, which refers to the visibility or increasing visibility and awareness, often for social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship. And here the first recommendation was to implement an image campaign for social entrepreneurship and social innovation in order to bring the concept of social entrepreneurship closer to the general notion and inform them what is this. And if you inform the general public, of course, you also inform potential money givers and potential cooperation partners, which all would help the social entrepreneurs. And maybe such an image campaign could include, or instead of a campaign, there could also be large event formats, like, for example, compared to the Pioneers Festival or other large events that are carried out in the startup sector. Then what's also missing is a systematic and consistent and educating information about social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship in the media, in the social media, but also in the print, TV, and so radio, and so on and so forth. So on all channels in this respect. So it would be, there are some sometimes individual reports on individual companies or best practice examples, such as in Austria, for example, a very famous social business is the Vollpension, which is a coffee shop where old women are supported. But almost everybody or many people know about the Vollpension, but that this is a social business is not very well, it's not very well known. So it's important to inform about social entrepreneurship, social business with facts and figures and stories, of course, and this has to be, lectured and prepared in a form of a newsroom. So, and the third and one of the most important recommendations was that of a legal status of social enterprise. As I mentioned before, and as we have just heard by Mara, is already the case in at least partially in Italy, to have a register where social enterprises or social entrepreneurs that fulfill certain criteria with respect to social entrepreneurship can register themselves and their business. And then such a register should, of course, be effected or carried out by a local, a public authority, in order to have also the public commitment and the legal binding or the legal effects that refer to such a public register when it comes to different support measures, when it comes to funding instruments. As Marion also said, it's very important to be able to clearly prove this is a social enterprise, this is in a register, this is a public register, they fulfill certain criteria. And if you want to support this field of social entrepreneurship, you simply have to address members of this register, because currently, at least in Austria, everybody or every company can call itself social business or social enterprise, because there is not a real, monitor or check or control if this is true, and there is no uniform procedure of applying for social business status. So this was also a very important recommendation that came as a result of our survey. Then here we come again to the European overview within the task force project. And as we can see, the legal status, as Mara has said, is already the case in Italy, but Jan, are also Polish examples. In Croatia, it's obviously under consideration, or it's thought about. And when it comes to image campaign, also Italy and Poland and event formats, they are very active there. So I would be curious to hear more about what's going on in your countries in this respect.
Jan, do you want to tell us what you do according to PR for social enterprises?
Okay, so first of all, there are special fairs for social enterprises, which are organized by municipalities. And I don't know if you are familiar with, this is also connected with the previous slides, these financial instruments for financing. In Poland, we have a special instrument for financing social enterprises, which is 1% of your income tax. So you can actually devote 1% of your income tax to social enterprise, which has to be enlisted on a special list. That simply means that they have then to report to tax office how they have spent this money. And now it's connected to image in media, because lots of these social enterprises are actually very much reliant on this source of income. So when it comes to the moment when you have to fill in your tax income declaration, which is actually now, so starting from, let's say, early February till late March, there is a lot of media campaigns that your 1% makes a difference, yes, and then they say how these social enterprises actually help people. Some of these commercials are financed by social enterprises, but more often they are financed by the government itself. So this is actually even my Rotary Club, in which I am a member in Krakow, also has this, is enlisted as a social enterprise. And we have this 1%. Of course, in our case, this is not the main source of income. We just, our members, which are 30 persons, we just devote our taxes to this, but I know several really important social enterprises in Kraków and Małopolska region, for which this 1% is the main source of income and funding.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Yeah.
That is.
OPP, Organizacja Pożytku Publicznego, so means Organization of Public Benefit.
Could you write it in the post, possibly?
Yeah, I
in the
already
chat?
did.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I can't see it. Sorry.
Thank you, Jan. You told us about Poland. Who wants to tell us about Italy? Mara.
Yes.
Thank you, Mara.
Thank you to you. In Italy, we have some criteria to be registered in the social enterprise register, which are very similar of the Polish criteria. So an enterprise has not to be a public owned, it should be private enterprises. And here, the enterprise has to reinvest the income in for the institutional activity. And the law for registering the social enterprises also identifies some activities which has to be the main activity, the main social mission of the enterprises, which are social assistance, health assistance, education, training, environment protection, and also valorization of the cultural heritage, tourism, social tourism, and also cultural heritage. These are the main activity which social enterprise have to focus. This is for Italian law.
Interesting.
Thank you, Mara. Annalisa, you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that also in Italy, we have something similar to what they have in Poland, because also we can, when we fill out our taxes report, we can devolve like I think it's 5 per mil, like 5, like the 5th part on
Yeah.
okay, it's clear, to a social enterprise.
Yeah.
So it's also a possibility for Italian enterprises.
Thanks a lot.
Already common practice. Maybe we should introduce it to our politicians here as well.
Yeah, are there any questions? Does someone from Germany tell us about it? Visibility. There are some plans. Do you want to talk about the plans? Juliane, thank you.
I can at least give a short impression from what I know. I mean, I think this topic of social entrepreneurship is somehow visible in Germany, at least for those who are working in the field and are interested in it. We have kind of this sister organization to SENA, the Social Entrepreneurship Network Germany, and they are already I think they are already quite a big network, and they are providing policy papers, recommendations. They are visible, I think. They are doing very interesting work. And there are other private players who, for example, start some events or festivals, I guess, like some social innovation camps that exists, also from universities, for example. But I am at least not aware of a huge governmental campaign on this topic, but I read a policy paper from government where it is said that it is planned to do some campaign work on this topic. So at least from what I know, it is on the agenda of the government, but I didn't see a huge campaign. So yeah, but I would say that private players are doing something in that field. And I think for the legal status, what I see is that there's always some kind of discussion in Germany, because I mean, we have those traditional big welfare organizations, which are somehow social enterprises, sure, but they really differ from those younger startups, which often work with different approaches. So you have, for example, a big welfare organization operating since 100 years, and they are very specialized in raising public funds, for example, and they actually do social, they have social goals and aims, sure. But you also have smaller organizations that, for example, create a certain app that helps to innovatively solve social problems. And usually they don't have big public funding, but maybe they are more into crowdfunding or something like this. So I wouldn't say that there is this one definition of social enterprise in Germany. We have very different types and also different opinions on that. I mean, I also know some entrepreneurs who say, well, for me, it can't be a social enterprise if they are only working with public funds. They should be able to create their finances through their economic activity. So, well, there's a debate going on, and so I sometimes have the feeling that it depends a bit on yourself or if you define yourself as a social enterprise or not. So, yeah.
Then we have this. Thank you, Juliane. I think could you, if it's possible, forward me this policy paper you have mentioned?
Yeah, sure.
This would be great. Yeah,
I can put it in the chat now.
Oh, perfect. And then, of course, we this definition issue is always a very tricky one. We talked about it yesterday internally, so I won't go on the hot roof or something if I go into too much detail here. I just have to maybe specify for our survey, and in Austria, at least, let's say it so, social entrepreneurs have to carry out or have to receive some money by their own commercial activities or own economical activities. So they have to offer something and something has to be bought, and they have to finance their impact and their business models and their impact models with some not public money. So in our survey, there are no MPOs or no NGOs, because this is another sector, at least in this respect.
Marin has raised his hand.
Yeah, thank you. Just a short insight from Croatia. As part of legal status, at the moment, any kind of organization in Croatia can be a social enterprise. So we got good examples from factories that are making chocolate or soaps, NGOs, and we will have coffee bars that are actually working as really good social enterprises. And there is no like legal frame you have to be MSP or NGO or stuff like that. Constance, what you said, there is like strategy frame that you have to reinvest 75% of your profit and the year in whichever you like, your mission, vision, or whatever, something that is locally good or good for improving your company or targeted stakeholders, whoever. As the part for visibility, we don't have like any big government process going on. But in each European Social Fund call, there is obligation to put at least 25% of funds into the PR and the visibility of social enterprises. So at the moment, that's the only thing that's like really going on. And some big mass on the government or national level, there is nothing at the moment. Okay, that's short insight. Thank you.
Thanks.
Constanze is writing everything down.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Anybody else who wants to make a statement? Okay. We still have 2 topics.
Yes.
These are the politician, politics, policy topics.
So yes, there we are. Policy. At least in Austria, a very neglected area so far. We have, as we have heard earlier this morning, we have the Ministry of Economic Affairs, who is already trying to bring some, how would you say, so now I've lost my string, sorry, who is already starting to get active in the field. And of course, there are some activities from the Ministry for Social Affairs, but yeah, there are no real commitment from the one or the other side. So what was recommended by our experts was, as is already the case in Croatia, for example, to have a strategy for social innovation or for social entrepreneurship. And of course, this is not a recommendation, but this is just a statement. There are already 16 European countries that have some sort of written policy frameworks for social entrepreneurs. So there is already something going on in Europe in this respect, but at least not in Austria, not now. And it needs a strategically coordinated approach between the various ministries that are responsible for the content or for the impact or the fields social entrepreneurs are usually active. When you bring down or when you elaborate such a strategy, then it cannot be that only one ministry writes it down, but it has to be a joint approach of the various ministries targeted, which is the Ministry for Economy, Labor, Environment, Social Affairs, Education, regions, whatever. And of course, the strategy should include a roadmap for the timing of the different measures that are planned. And as mentioned before, it needs a clear political responsibility at ministerial level. So one ministry that is first hand responsible for social entrepreneurship or social innovation, but here it's social entrepreneurship, and that coordinates all social entrepreneurship related activities from other ministries. And it's also difficult, I was also told by representatives from the European Union or from other countries, if you come to Austria or if you are looking for somebody who is a politically responsible person to contact at first hand when it comes to social entrepreneurship, you wouldn't find such a contact point in Austria so far. So this would be also very helpful for international relations in the field to have a contact point here on political level. So, and then we have our usual look at the partnering countries, and there are lots of plans going on, as you can see. And when it comes to roadmaps and coordinated approaches, so maybe you could go into some detail here, and maybe who, apart from Croatia, has already a strategy in place?
Yeah, thank you, Constanze. This is this first part of policy. I think there's a second one. Is that right? Yes. Maybe somebody wants to talk about the plans in Germany, in Croatia, in Poland, or in Italy. Or maybe we do it all together, Constanze, do you think? So.
Nobody wants to start.
Maybe I can say
you.
a few words on the case in Germany. I would say when you're not working in a responsible ministry, it is not easy to see through the jungle. So I guess if you would ask a person who is very much into the social entrepreneurship policy topic, they might be more like able to navigate through all that. But I would say that, I mean, this is very typically in Germany, and I think also not really a problem. There are certain ministries who are working on the social entrepreneurship topic. For example, of course, Ministry for Economics, but also Ministry for Science Research, and also Economics, Research, and Labor. So yeah, we have different ministries who are working on the topic, and also you have to consider the state level. So for example, there are some states like Hessen who already have a specific social entrepreneurship funding program, while other states don't have anything like that. So, well, as I said, it's quite a jungle. So I would say there are somehow clear responsibilities, but for an outsider, it's not easy to see who is responsible for what. So I guess, well, sometimes it would be helpful to have a more comprehensive way of communicating that in a very clear manner. I think if you want to start on social enterprise, you first have to do like 2 or 3 days of research to find out who is offering what. No.
Thank you, Juliana. So maybe that you know what the agenda is. We want to do a picture where everybody waves and where we can have a wonderful memory of this day. And yeah, and Constanze still has one picture of policy strategy.
It refers to what Juliana just said. It's the ministry responsible for social entrepreneurship. So in Croatia, who is it? Who is responsible for social entrepreneurship?
Marin.
Sorry, I was on a phone call. My apologies. I heard half what Juliana said, but I think it's pretty much here in Croatia same. So the Ministry of Work is responsible for social enterprises.
Yep.
And that sounds like, yeah, great, we know to do it. But then the problems start because they are like putting on the lower levels for any who wants to do more stuff. The best part of it that we have a government agency who is in charge of ESF connected to the social enterprises. So if you want to do something through the project, European projects connected to SE, then you contact that agency. And that's really straightforward and that's a good stuff. For the ministry part, Ministry of Work is connected to the Ministry of Labor and to the Ministry of this and Ministry of that, and they're intervene to each other when it's and the upper level of going through it. So yeah, and on the paper we have minister responsible, but in the real time, this is actually agency who is in charge of NGOs that has both like power, information, and useful information to provide to the potential. Yeah. Okay, so Constance, can you please go slide back, because I was on the phone, so I'm not sure if I have missed something to say. Okay, so we got a strategy that is officially ended in 2020. We are waiting to get the info when the new will be written. We are using the old one, that's the roadmap, and clear political responsibilities. As I said, agency for NGO is in charge for that, and that's the best part that we can offer to the future startups of SA. Okay, that's our tutorial. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marine, for your statements. Jan wants to make a statement as well.
Okay, so when it comes to Poland, the situation is probably there are some similarities. So, okay, the main ministry which coordinates policies more or less, or for instance has a special base of social enterprises, which is called Baza Przedsiębiorstw Społecznych. I will send you the link on chat. Of course, it's in Polish, so it's a disaster for non-Polish readers. Well, so this is the Ministry of Family and because the name of the ministry changes all the time.
Oh yes, we know.
It's no longer the Ministry of Labor. Okay, it's the Ministry of Family and Social Policy. Okay, so more or less they play somehow a coordinative role, and they are responsible for policies. But then the problem is that most of the foundations have a controlling body, and the controlling body is usually the ministry which they write into the status of the social enterprise. So basically you can have, and that means that at least a couple of ministries are responsible for social enterprises. Ministry of Justice, because there are a lot of social enterprises who provide legal support to some vulnerable fractions of the populations. Second, Ministry of Culture, obviously, and definitely also Ministry of what is now the name? Once again, I have to check because they are changing all of our ministry who was just changed. So it's called Ministry of Development, Work and Technology now, okay? Because there was a merge in January. We had merged several ministries into bigger units. So the Ministry of Development, Work and Technology obviously is also, when it comes especially to social innovation, they are deeply interested in the field. So we have an administrative mess, unfortunately, especially now because the current government has decided that that there are too many ministries and they have to merge them. So and of course I forgot, Ministry of Education and Research obviously is also one of the ministries which is responsible for social entrepreneurship. So as you can see, we will have to update our baseline strategy framework, and of course when it comes to the action plan and roadmap, we'll have a lot of work because everything is brand new from January 2021.
Thank you, Jan. Now I have a question to Constanze. How many slides do you still have?
It's the last one.
This was the last one. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
if you want, I could provide some more, but I don't have to.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Are there any statements? Somebody want to make a statement? I don't see raised hand. Then we will make the picture of us all to remember our workshop today. And yeah, if you want, you can show yourself wherever you are. And please. So wonderful people working for social entrepreneurship in all these countries to make the world better. Wonderful. Okay, so then 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And who does this picture?
I can do it.
Yeah, I made a built-in picture. Please wave again. Yes.
So I have to look. Oh, now it's good.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Today, Constanze made the presentation of the survey in Austria, and it was wonderful to see the framework in all your countries as well. We are almost at the end, and I want to ask you just for a short sentence what you learned today and what was maybe new or what you take to your office and your university from today. Just a very, very short statement, and I start with Ilaria.
Okay, thank you, Ursula. And I think I take from my university the difficulties of social enterprises to financing. And I would ask also to Constanze if she can share with us this slide and this presentation, and also if she can share with us the case study you studied when you talked about private financing money for social enterprises, so that we can study also for our work on WIFI.
Thank you. Ilaria, the only written part is the end report, the final report of the survey, which unfortunately is in German. I fear. I can send it to you. Maybe you can translate it. But I have to wait until I have the official, I'm missing the word, allowance by the ministry to send a report, but you can have the slides before.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I go to Natalia.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalia Gonzalez from Cultural Growth Europe in Germany, project assistant. One of the things that captured my attention was the numbers. I mean, the age rate of the people that were doing this social enterprise was 40 years old, more or less. And I find this very interesting and maybe a point to start a further investigation. Why is this happening? What are the social conditions that make maybe younger people not to do this jump? Or why these people in 40 years old do it? Maybe they are not happy with having like a fixed job that doesn't enrich their lives, and they figured out that they can't contribute to society in a better way. This can be like an hypothesis. And from the young people's perspective, maybe they want to have first like a very, I don't know, traditional job, and then maybe later to go to the entrepreneurial market. Or it can be also that maybe they don't feel ready to take some risks, because at the end of the day, you need to be an entrepreneur and you have to be able to have this strength. So these are some thoughts that came into my mind with this. result.
Thank you, Natalia. And I go on.
Maybe I just do a very brief additional thought to this, because it was also something which surprised me a lot. Is I think it a very important fact that contributes to this development. There are, of course, many young people as well, and I know many young founders of social businesses. But yes, as you have seen by the financing structure, you need a lot of own money to start such a social business. And many social entrepreneurs who are older start as a second career. So they have, traditional business. So they are already settled, they have money, and they can afford not to go for profit anymore. Or, which is also very frequent the case, they remain in their old job part-time and finance with the income of the other job their social business. So they are finally they are in the position to finance what they really want to do. And if they are young, they do not have the money and the stability to do it. So this is also often the case, at least in the talks with the social entrepreneurs I had. Most of them tell me, so now my kids are 16 and not so dependent anymore on me, on my money, or are older, and I have worked a lot, and I have now a house, and I'm established, and now I can afford to go into this risky business, that's also a problem of social entrepreneurship, that it's really currently very risky to go there, and you have to dedicate a lot of time and a lot of passion, and therefore it's maybe difficult sometimes.
Yeah, very true. Thank you.
I go on with Amalia.
Hello, thank you. I'm Amalia, representing CGF in Germany. I'm also working as project manager. What is also interesting for me, of course, everything, and especially the survey from Constantia was very eye-opening. I was also wondering related to this demographical portions depend on or demographical distributions between women entrepreneurs in comparison with men entrepreneurs is something that is also quite interesting. And for us, I think NGOs in Germany, I would like pretty much to see the differences between the funding or investment funds, differences between the private and public difference in investment funds. And now that when we are dealing with our participants, it has always been an issue with them as well, and especially the questions of whether any opportunities of funding or registering as enterprise can be further funded fully by any of the opportunities from maybe regional funding or even state funding. So this is something that I have the interest more on investigating, and maybe this can be also something that for the future work package 4 in Taskforcome project that can be also beneficial to work more on the differences between and what exactly are the options that are available for those who want their social entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Thank you, Amalia. I head to Andrea Reiner Czechowska.
Thank you. I just would like to say a big thank you for being able to participate as an observer today in your meeting as a national contact point, guiding a lot of projects from the Central Europe program. I do not always have the possibility to get deep insight. So I'm very thankful to see what your project is about. And I learned a lot today about social entrepreneurship and take a lot with me, being also actively involved in the programming of the new programs. This will help me also in the future programs to see a bit clearer on the topics of innovation, social innovation, and social entrepreneurship, which I can quite assure you that we'll be also part of the new programs, not only Central Europe in the future. And I will be glad to see the further developments of your projects and maybe also some new developments that you might be able to get funded in the new period. And I would like to ask if, or offer you the possibility, as we on the national level have a newsletter on transnational programs, and we try to incorporate there also news on some projects. I think the study, Constanze, that you have just mentioned, and that will be published in a short time, would give a good possibility for a news article in our newsletter. So if you're interested, I think I will then communicate either with you, Constanze, or with Claudia on this possibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the possibility. We will be glad to take the offer and yes, bring some newsletters, some article, write some article.
Thank you. It's wonderful to hear that it's going on. It's going on. Yes, who should speak next? Juliane, please.
I also agree. I'm totally looking forward to see a documentation of today. And I think what I think is most interesting for me is to see the different perspectives of the countries. And for me today is more like a spark, especially also for our work package 4 and Taskforcome, to see how we can learn from each other policy-wise. I think I heard quite some similarities, but also some differences. And I think it's very interesting to hear those different ideas, how it can work. So, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Next, Marin, please.
First, thank you for this great presentation. It was great to get updated idea of what's going on in other countries. My first reaction is like comforting, because I thought that we here in Croatia were way worse than the others, but I see we are not so far away behind you. It's good to see there are people from countries that have still a will and accept challenges, that try to do something better for the local areas. So it was really good to see insights from others. One of you said about how surprised it was that like older people, not to offend anyone, people about 40 start social enterprises, which is totally opposite here in Croatia, because mostly high school kids and students are interested in starting something like this. So getting the other perspectives and ideas, it was more than great. So thank you for this call.
Thank you, Marin. I head to Annalisa Ricci. Annalisa.
Okay, I'm very happy to see the data about the female entrepreneurship in social business. But as we saw from the Austrian report, it's almost 50% of the total social entrepreneurship, and I think that's great. And also, I agree with what Marin said, because also I thought in Italy we were far behind the rest of Europe, speaking about the recognition of social enterprises. But as I learned today, actually it's not that bad. I mean, we have social recognition, we have a legal recognition for social enterprises. They are registered. So that was surprising, actually. And also, I'm happy to hear that in Croatia, young people are starting social businesses, because maybe it also means that there's a cultural shift for future generation. So I think that's great.
Thank you, Annalisa. Thank you. I head to Mara.
Yes. What is most interesting to me was to have some more information about policies framework for social enterprise in Taskforcome project country. It will be very useful for next phase, for the last project phase, also for a future project. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mara. I'm heading to Alessandro Tanaki.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It was a very interesting morning for me because I'm not really into depth of the problem, but I think there are some precious points to the discussion and to take advantage for the future, including, as also Natalia and Annalisa already said, the distribution in terms of age and in terms of gender of social entrepreneurship in the various countries. This is a point to be taken into account for future works and projects, but also in order to understand even the cultural shifts between, let's say, native countries and native cultures of the various social entrepreneurs. This is a key point that should be more in depth addressed, in my opinion, in the future. Thank you all for this interesting morning.
Thank you, Alessandro. I'm heading to Barbara.
Yeah, what I found interesting was that there is a joint challenge in all the countries, which is, should there be a criteria what constitutes a social enterprise or not, a social entrepreneur? Some countries do have some kind of registration forms that creates problems as well, or has its own challenges, and we can see that this is a tricky issue to address, and so far I have not come across like the best solutions, and I think it's interesting to see how this is going to evolve in the future.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm heading to Francesca. Francesca.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had some phone calls during the meeting, so I have some black slots actually. So I will profit of the recording so to keep aligned with the others. I agree with Mara as usual. So it was interesting also in the view of the project implementation. Of course, we are much more both of us, we are much more involved in project implementation than in the social entrepreneurship development system, let's say. So in a more focusing view of the project implementation, it's really useful as the final phase is to work on policies. So support policies development, to support policies improvement. So the exchange and the comparison of policies and of different dimensions of policies and challenges of policies is really useful for this final phase. But I will adjust the recording so to keep all passages.
Thank you, Francesca. I'm heading to Ilse.
Hi, yes, I'm Ilse Polakova. I'm working with Platform e.V. in Germany. I think for me, it was very interesting to find out that it's a very large number of female entrepreneurs in the social entrepreneurial sector. And I would like to know what it looks in the other countries. It would be very interesting to have researchers in the other countries and to compare and then maybe ask questions why it is this way. And yeah, so it was very inspiring to me. Thank you for sharing the results.
Thank you, Ilse. I'm heading to Tony. Maybe on the phone. Then I go to Yevhen.
Hi to everyone. My name is Yevhen Beruchev and I'm working here at DCF Hub Center's Integration and Support Center. Then thank you for the meeting to everyone. It's very nice to me to work in such a group of people. And for me, it was a very interesting experience to see that what social entrepreneurship looks like in different countries. What are the differences between and what are the common sides of social entrepreneurship in our countries. Thank you very much for this meeting.
Thank you, Yevhen. Now we see you.
Yes,
Greetings
me?
to
Okay.
you. Yes, greetings to you.
Good.
Now I'm heading to Davide.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the presentation. In my opinion, that was interesting to discover and understand how social enterprises are in other countries and how the situation is in social enterprises and social entrepreneurship. And the different perspective and the different situation in this market in other countries, that was very interesting for me. So thank you for the presentation and looking forward to the documentation. Thank you again.
Thank you, Davide. I'm heading to Karalampos.
Yes, hi, this is Haralambos. I'm with CG. Thank you for today. It was really interesting. What I keep from today is that the fact that we have reports and data is really important, because today we got a full picture with demographics and seeing different aspects of the people who are behind ideas. So it was really important that, and can help us in the future with policies and how to better help people who want to do this.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm heading to Jan.
So it was a very productive meeting, I think, and we learned a lot. From my perspective, it was quite surprising to learn about the finances of social enterprises in Austria. I was rather confident that in Austria they are much more affluent when it comes to funds, and still they manage to do so many things. So it's really encouraging for Polish entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, to learn that with actually, and also in terms of financing, which I learned that in some countries this tax incentive is much lower than actually in Poland. This 1% is apparently quite generous compared to other countries. So this is actually good news for Polish entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and to our club as well. I think this will be motivating in my personal activity as social entrepreneur or part of social enterprise to do more as our Rotary Club for Kraków community and in the region. So of course I was not able to fully assist, as you have seen probably, my small research assistant, my daughter Zosia, who is ill today, so I had to stay at home. But I hope to see the full recording again, and then probably I will have more insights for the working package 4. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Jan. Last word from Constanze, and then a very last word from Claudia, please.
I've said already so much that I won't say too much anymore. So thank you for having you all here this morning, and for the great discussions and the inputs and the interesting thoughts. As you have seen, and as Ursula has said, I've written down a lot. So it was also very, very interesting for me. And I'm very happy that we as SENA had the chance to join or jump into Taskforcome a half time, and I'm looking forward very much to our final year and to all the activities that will come. And now, Claudia, last not least, the floor is yours.
Very last words. Yes, thank you. Thanks to all of you for participating in our meeting, for the interesting discussions. For me, it's always interesting to see what in different countries is happening, and also to discuss with other people who have similar projects and to exchange with them, and therefore thank you for participation. I took some notes during our meeting. I think Ursula also took some notes, so and we have recorded it, so you will get a documentation of our meeting and the slides. And yes, once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was the Taskforcome meeting and workshop, and we were presenting the survey on social entrepreneurship in Austria. Stay fine, stay healthy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you.